So it must be a slow news day, because when I read these articles about the Birthright citizenship case, I heard the overall general arguments, and the overall general arguments were just the general injunction. Can a trial judge offer a general nationwide injunction against an issue that they believe is unconstitutional? So they weren't even talking about the merits of the case. They were talking about the procedures. But here you have this headline from Fox News Online. Supreme Court Chief Justice Roberts reigns in Sotomayor after repeated interruptions. Reins are in, right? Hey, you need to knock it off with that bullshit. You need to rein it in there, sister. So Sotomayor was asking questions of the U.S. Solicitor General John Sauer, and she was just asking a bunch of questions, and I guess she was speaking over, the guy that was talking. You are claiming that not just the Supreme Court, that both the Supreme Court and no lower court can stop an executive from universally violating holdings by this court. We are not claiming that because we're conceding that there could be an appropriate case only in class only, Sauer said. But I hear that, Sotomayor said, beginning to interrupt John Sauer. Can I hear the rest of his answer? Can I hear the rest of his answer? John Roberts, the Chief Justice, interjected. And then that's it. Sauer elaborated on the statement, saying some bullshit. Sauer used the bulk of his opening arguments to reiterate that the president can do as the hell as he wants, and if he wants to take the Constitution and use it as toilet paper, then he's allowed to do it. Universal injunctions require judges to make rushed, high-stakes, low-information decisions. They operate asymmetrically, forcing the government to win everywhere and invert, in the administration's view, the ordinary hierarchical hierarchy of appellate review. They create the ongoing risk of conflicting judgments. So that was it. That was the whole thing. So John Roberts reined Sonia Sotomayor in just because he asked this question. Can I hear the rest of his answer? That's not really much of a reining in. I mean, he really gave her a talking to. He really was talking down to her, just absolutely belittling her, right? You keep interrupting and interrupting, you son of a monkey's butt. You baboon's ass. Quit interrupting me, you baboon's ass. I'm tired of you interrupting. It's John Sauer. This is the great John Sauer. I'll admit that, he looks like he would be good on camera, but the way he sounds pretty good, like on just audio. It sounds like he knows what he's talking about, but he just knows a whole bunch of stuff. And so it's interesting that they're talking about this. Universal injunctions require judges to make rushed, high-stakes, low-information decisions. Well, that makes me think of my case. You got, Michael Gonzalez, who's just doing this asymmetrical fucking bullshit, right? Basically mocking me because I respected the law, mocking me because I'm moral and good, and I like being a good American. And because I like being a good American and I respected the law, well, he was going to use that respect and screw me over. Meanwhile, the people that were committing just outright crimes, outright violent felonies, well, they didn't respect anything that asshole had to say. They're like, to hell with you. The cops haven't done anything to us. To hell with you. We're not listening to your court orders. So it's just interesting that if you're lawful, then that means you have to obey all the laws, whereas nobody else has to. If you are the only lawful person in a criminal society, you're the only one following the laws, and you have to follow the laws, with everybody. But then everybody don't have to follow the law with you or anybody else, including the authorities. So that would make the good and lawful the dummies. You're good and lawful and honest and decent. You treat others the way you want to be treated. You're like Jesus. You employ the golden rule. You treat your neighbors as you want them to treat you. What the hell's the matter with you? Don't you realize that this is a criminal society? Don't you see the damn genocide? Nobody in this damn country cares about your health, whether or not you make it. Nobody gives a crap If you're right or wrong, it doesn't matter. The truth be damned. Forcing the government to win everywhere and inverting the administration's view, the ordinary hierarchical hierarchy of appellate review. They create the ongoing risk of conflicting judgments. They sure do. They sure do. Here's another thing. Another headline is going on, big time, right? Oh my gosh. Amy Coney Barrett confronts Trump administration lawyer on respecting court rulings, right? So this is, are you ready? She's going to confront him. The whole damn oral arguments thing was like over 2 hours long. And so, let's see, Barrett, she asked a question. She wanted to know that if you file something in the Second Circuit and then they, make a ruling, then in New York, do they have to follow it or do they get to break it because they don't agree with you? And John Sauer says the general practice is to respect those precedents, but there are circumstances when it is not a categorical practice. John Sauer is the U.S. Solicitor General. The U.S. Solicitor General is the top legal person, like the Attorney General of the Department of Justice. And so this is kind of, was it Pam Bondi is the Attorney General, so she's the top lawyer for the Trump administration, but he would kind of be he's the guy that talks to the Supreme Court. So he's kind of a top lawyer in his own right. Prompting Barrett to ask if he meant he believes that it's the general practice of only the Trump administration or the federal government, John Sauer replied that he understands it to be the long-standing practice of the Department of Justice. Oh, we've always ignored the Supreme Court. It's the long-standing practice of the Department of Justice to tell the Supreme Court to go to hell. You don't fucking matter. We can do as the fuck as we please. We own this goddamn country. The Leviathan runs through us. You made your ruling, Amy Coney Barrett. Now why don't you enforce it if you think you're big and bad enough? No, she didn't say any of that. She just says, really? And that's it. That's how she confronted the Trump admin lawyer, right? That's like John Roberts reining Sotomayor in with he just finished the question. Man, that was a real reining in, that John Roberts. If you listen to the whole 2 hours, there's no way you walked away with just, man, there was that one moment. I mean, it is interesting that they're pointing, it's like it's either a slow news day or they're just trying to make this, oral arguments into something. They're trying to make hay out of the thing and like, wow, it got real dicey in there. Not really. That we generally, it was actually very courteous. They talked to each other, listened to each other, asked questions. It didn't seem like there was hardly any fireworks. Also, since it's about the Birthright citizenship, they didn't talk about Birthright. They didn't talk about citizenship. The 14th Amendment didn't come up. They did mention Meyer v. Nebraska, which I thought was interesting, but they're just talking about general injunctions. And then there was another case that Amy Coney Barrett had pointed out. She was talking about how there's a moment where she was talking about something v. Aaron. Oh, it seems like this is going to be a something v. Aaron. Something v. Aaron. Basically, it had to do with segregation in the 1950s and how they had to get the states to make sure that the schools were segregated. Some court case v. Aaron, but Apodaca v. Aaron, could that be it? I don't know. That we generally, as it was phrased to me, generally respect circuit precedent, but not necessarily in every case. In some examples might be a situation where we're litigating to try to get that circuit precedent overruled and so forth. Barrett, however, says she's not referring to when there's a case from 1955 and you think it's time to be challenged, but how the administration acts when a circuit court rules an order is unconstitutional. John Sauer says that the court generally follows that, so you're still saying generally, and you still think that it's generally the long-standing policy of the federal government to take that approach? He says, that is my understanding. Earlier in the questioning, Elena Kagan raised a similar matter. So, yeah. He's such a smart cookie that I feel like he could probably slip in a little bullshit, but he'll go back to the damn Justice Department and be like, I can't believe y'all made me say that. He's got to, either A, look in the mirror or maybe iron out his inconsistencies. But if he's a psychopath, then hell, he might just be like, man, I really got one in over on them. Highlighted their damn faces. I hope they don't catch me in the hypocritical stating of lies. There are circumstances when it is not categorical practice. So it's the long-standing practice of the Department of Justice. Really? Responded Barrett. What's the headline here? Amy Coney Barrett's Supreme Court remarks spark MAGA fury. Huge mistake. She's an ultra left-wing liberal. She's a commie. She's a commie. She's basically Che Guevara. Che Guevara dressed up as Fidel Castro and Mao Zedong, all wrapped up into one. Come on, guys, get a hold of yourself.